So good evening. I'm with Rudi Ramdarshan, and Rudi, you're the partner at Ronald Fleccer Baker, which is dates back to 1948. So it's a very historical law firm. It's based both in London and also Manchester. Can you introduce your partner on your right? So I know Laura, you're property solicitor as well. Your specialism is planning. I know you're keen runner as well. So, Rudi, do you want to just introduce to the listeners a little bit more about Ronald Fleccer Baker, the team you have there, and how they can help potential property investors, stroke developers?
Sure, thank you, Brendan. Well, Ronald Flectcer Baker is a well-established law firm. We've been around since 1948, as you mentioned, 3 offices, 2 in London, 1 in Manchester. We're particularly proud of our Manchester office because, that was a new venture. It's about a year old and it's doing brilliantly. I think we've got about 10 solicitors up there now. So of particular interest to your viewers will be the fact that we have a particular expertise in property law, both on the transactional side of things, so acquisitions of development sites, finance, options, JVs, and everything in between, and also on the litigation side of things.
Yeah, so from a litigation perspective, we get involved in matters that involve planning, forfeiture or enforcement of lease terms, but probably most crucially is to do strategies for our clients to obtain vacant possession or to reach agreements with their existing tenants so that their wider development goals can succeed.
So one of the key questions, Rudi, and I'm sure on Tuesday, some of the questions from the audience are going to be slightly slanted over concerns of Brexit, but we're going to make this a little bit more generic for this evening to give you time to possibly, have a look at what the weekend activity is and so forth with regard to Article 50. But in terms of developers and so forth, how important do you think it is for developers to have a good understanding of planning? And what would you define as a good understanding of planning as well? Could be quite different to what another solicitor or another expert would say on planning. So it's a slightly open-ended question in terms of what's your remit in terms of what is a good understanding of planning?
Well, certainly for a lawyer, you need to have a good understanding of planning. We act for clients at all stages on their development journey. So you could have the individual who's looking at their first purchase of a residential investment property to the larger investor who looks at purchasing the entire parade. And it's crucial for a lawyer in particular in this field to have a firm grasp of all of the planning issues at all different levels so that they can assist the clients along their development journey. Failure to do so can either mean that either an investment opportunity is missed, a development is delayed, or worst case scenario, they've gone and purchased something with the intention of developing and for some reason they can't do it.
And it's not just planning, it's important to understand issues surrounding right to light, any restrictions on the title, if there's a right of way, but probably most crucially is the existing uses of property and the tenancies that are on the site, because that's going to have an impact on the developer's ability to use them.
Sure. So if we look at some other aspects of development, if we look at, for example, the question which is looking at permitted development and it is planning necessary for all developments. Of course, there's examples. Martin Skinner's one of them, noted examples of converting office to resi in Croydon. There's other examples as well. So one of the key questions is planning necessary for all developments? what developments would you say maybe permitted development may be still available? And the other leading question is, what potential avenues are still available in permitted development as well? What do you notice, any particular trends in the last year?
Yeah, no, good question. I mean, it's often the first question that that a client will ask us. You know, I've got this vision, I've got this site. You know, is planning necessary for this development? And you know, without getting too technical, the key issue is whether the works amount to development under the definition of Section 55 of the Town and Country Planning Act. You know, not all building works will be development. You know, works. You know, we know a client who's doing quite extensive work in terms of bringing in a few shops on a parade into one mega shop, if I can put it that way. You know, and that's surprisingly doesn't need planning. So you look at whether such things as works of maintenance, improvements, alterations, which only affect the interior, would not generally be development, as long as it doesn't impact upon the external appearance of the property.
And I mean, as a lawyer, our clients are always looking at potential permitted development schemes. So you can have retail on the ground floor, offices on top, or using permitted development rights to convert offices to residential, which is a use class from B1 to C3. I think recently there's 300 occupied offices lost, which were due to developers exploiting permitted development rights.
And so as you mentioned, Brendan, a lot of your followers get some really great insight into these opportunities and that are out there. And I would say that's a brilliant starting point. However, you need to delve a little bit deeper. Having a general understanding is great, but certainly for a lawyer, you need to understand the precise area that you're in, the planning policies. And so, for instance, you look at a site, you've gone to an auction, you look at a site, perfect for permitted development. However, you're unaware of the fact that it falls into an Article 4 designated area. So that displaces the permitted development use. Obviously, places that are conservation areas, you get permitted development rights to assist there, and if you're buying a listed building. But for us, understanding for our clients when planning is needed and when planning is not needed is key. And we do not want to delay a client or cause him additional expense by advising on a permitted on a planning route when a permitted route is available. Now, as Laura said, everyone's taken advantage of the office to resi, and we're seeing that more and more, and that's going to continue.
Do you see, I'm going to try to make this short, but it's such an interesting subject, and it may be hard for you to answer as well, but do you see that trend of office to resi continuing, or do you think at some point it's going to become a saturated market, or depends partly on geographical location as well?
Well, I see it personally continuing. I think there is, there are people out there that are saying, well, actually, you go into a certain area and office rents are actually beginning to rise. They're commanding, a significant premium. So is it economically viable now to spend the money on a resi conversion when you can get pretty good returns on your office use? And also the added benefits of having office use is that you're operating under a commercial arrangement. If, for instance, they fail to pay rent, you can normally just go in and use the harsher tools that are available to us, like forfeiture. Whereas on a residential scheme, it's not necessarily there if you're buying the whole thing. So I think, whilst there are benefits, I still think, and certainly most of my clients, if not all of them, are pressing ahead with office to resi conversion.
Sure. And we're going to go into a lot more depth on Tuesday. Wednesday morning, the Central London Property Meet. We're going to go into a lot more depth about change of use from commercial to mixed. We're also going to look at the JV aspect as well, joint ventures. I know there was one final question which was focused on most of your, or a key part of your work is on planning, but what other questions do your clientele require in terms of legal issues?
Well, yeah, so I mean, certainly in terms of our developer clients, if they're looking at, you know, so let's say we've solved the problem of the acquisition, the initial kind of headaches that go with assessing the site and planning. They could come to us at a stage where JCT contracts are in place, or perhaps there's a dispute with their construction company. Now, you hope that the architect is going to solve that, but often the case. Clients will come to us because of our expertise and experience and knowledge, and so that we can resolve it quickly, whether that's by formal adjudication or by some form of negotiation. That, you know, it varies. The key thing about us at Ronald Flectcer Baker, certainly on the litigation side of things, is we have the teams, and for litigation, you need teams in place to be able to respond quickly and do the work in such a tight, compressed time frame as adjudication is. And we have those teams. So other matters which, in terms of our general assistance to our asset managers, I mean...
yeah, so I'm finding a lot at the minute we're asked about obtaining vacant possession of mixed-use sites so that our clients can bring about those developments. Perhaps they've got a retail unit with residential on the uppers. So in that sort of situation, we would look at things like, when's the lease going to come to an end? Have there been any breaches of the lease terms? It could be that our clients have got commercial leases that come to an end, but they are protected under the Act. So we can quite often assist in developing a strategy to terminate the lease and obviously allow our clients to realise their redevelopment potentials.
I mean, obviously that only covers a small proportion of what we do, but, you know, we love talking about getting our clients, you know, taking their vision and bringing it to fruition. And, you know, Brexit notwithstanding, you know, I think our clients in particular will be looking to, you know, use the opportunities that are out there now and the opportunities for when Brexit finally bites to, you know, to continue to develop and continue to make money in this environment, you know. And certainly for a litigator, I'm, you know, quietly excited about the prospect of what Brexit brings to us.
Okay, so we're going to leave on that really positive note, but you see the opportunities as much with Brexit as the obstacles. So I'm going to leave it as that for the moment, and we will continue the conversation on Wednesday, the Central London Morning Property Meet. Now, depending when the listeners are listening to this interview is taking place late March 2017. So Central London Property Morning Meet is going to be April the 5th. It's Wednesday, April the 5th. How best connect with you, Rudi and Laura? Is it literally going through to your website, Ronald Flectcer Baker?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so easiest website is www.rfblegal.co.uk, or my email's simply Rudi, R-U-D-I, @rfblegal.co.uk.
Okay. So to the listeners, I want to say huge thanks for joining me. The sound may be slightly tricky at times, but I just wanted to ensure that you got this key information now at the key point, or I say key point of Brexit, Article 50. So I'm sure we're going to do some more interviews at a later stage. But of course, you're going to be presenting in the next few days as well. So huge thanks for you taking time out, Rudi and Laura. Huge thanks to the listeners as well.
Great. No, and see you next week at Central London.
Thank you. Thank you.